Hello, hello, hello. It's Lillian Reiki here, tuning in with Parent Support Network episode 27. Hope you are doing awesomely well. Hope life is treating you amazing. Hope your family and your relationships are awesome. And I hope you're enjoying the day, whatever it is that you're doing today. It's winter here in Queensland on the Gold Coast, but the sun's shining and it's a beautiful day, and I'm truly grateful for that. So today I am going to be talking about the relationship between how we parent, the relationships, and how we grow our relationships with our children as parents or caregivers of children, and how that impacts the adult that child becomes in however many years, 10, 15, 20 years. A lot of the work I do, and also working alongside naturopath Nathan, we see a lot of adults who are struggling in the world with their emotional health, their physical health, their relationships, their parenting, and they come to us struggling. They come to us struggling to enjoy the sort of relationships that they really desire, particularly with their children, and they kind of like, I don't know why it's happening the way it's happening. And sadly, for many parents, even all of us, with all the love in our hearts to be amazing, connected, loving, incredible parents, we have this program happening that came to us from our own upbringing and from our parents. And sometimes, because of whether you call it trauma or just the way that you were parented or the type of relationship that you had with your parent or parents, that can then manifest in things like addictions, whether that be an addiction to food, overeating, sometimes also undereating, because we're not happy with our body, so we starve our body. Sometimes we overeat for comfort. We just, when we're feeling down or depressed or unworthy, we eat. We crave all the wrong foods at all the wrong times, and then we feel bad about eating them and putting on weight, and then that makes us eat more. There are some people who have, and when I say addictions, I don't mean it has to be, an out of control addiction, but, I know I have an addiction, I'll talk about mine shortly, that I believe has come from my childhood as well. But it could be alcohol. Like, how many people have to reach for a wine or a beer on most days? Not just a social one on the weekend when they go out for dinner or have some friends around, but they basically have to reach for one every day to wind down, to feel, take the stress away. That's an addiction, right? It might not be a severe addiction, but it's still an addiction. What about things like, smoking of nicotine or other substances? They also become addictions, and they're a way of, helping us to feel better about ourselves, because for whatever reason, we're not feeling great about ourselves. We need an outside stimuli to make us feel better. What else did I have? I wrote a post this morning on Facebook, so if you haven't seen that yet, please go and check that out. That's on my main profile. What about gambling? Online games or videos, like how many people have addictions to being online? They spend hours and hours and hours online because they feel safe, because they feel connected, because they feel like they've got great relationships either with the game or the characters in the game or other players that they're playing with or against. What about exercise? Now, of course, exercise is good for us, right? We all need to exercise, but some of us use exercise in a negative way and we become addicted to it. I know I went through a stage back when my son was challenging. I used to go to the gym for like an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. It was my escape. And even though it was a positive thing for me to do, I don't believe my intention for going there was positive, if that makes sense, always. There are drugs, of course, and that can be recreational drugs, prescription drugs. It could be sex. Sex is great, of course, but we can become addicted, and it can make us dysfunctional as well. our phones. How many of us are addicted to our phones, to social media, to scrolling through social media? And, and why do we do these things? Why do we have thought processes that drive us to perhaps indulge in these things more than we need to or should do, spending way more time on them, perhaps spending a lot more money on them than we should be, which can also adversely affect, our family and our ability to, pay our bills and pay our rent or mortgage and put food on the table and look after our children, because we're spending, too much money on our addiction. And time's another big thing, right? Rather than spending the time doing the things that you really should be doing, or that, are really in your highest values, you get drawn into, spending all this time on your addiction, on the phone. Scrolling on Facebook can become addiction. Playing video games can be an addiction and a big time waster. So we do these things to feel better, to feel happier, to feel loved, sometimes to numb the pain that's happening in our lives. And they can be, subconscious thoughts. It's not necessarily a conscious thought that we go out and go, okay, I'm going to abuse food, or I'm going to abuse alcohol, or I'm going to abuse my time that I spend on my phone, and, all the other various addictions that we have. And in the work that I do, and I'm by absolutely no means an expert on addictions, I have listened a lot to Dr. Gabor Mate, who is amazing. So if you haven't heard him, he's a Hungarian Canadian. He's incredible, and he believes pretty much that most adult diseases, physical and physiological, emotional diseases, do come from trauma, and that causes addiction and other challenges, health challenges in adults. So why is this important to me in my work? Well, as a parenting strategist, I see the result of families who are stressed, parents who may be struggling with some of these addictions, or the values in their life are not really the way they want them to be, but they just don't know how to change them. They want to make parenting and family and relationships higher on their value list, but they're so drawn into the whatever it is they're into, in a dysfunctional sort of way, that it does create challenges with their partners, with their children, at work, with their business, etc. It can tear families apart. And why do we grow up as adults having these addictions and feeling the way that we feel? I'll share my addiction. I'm pretty healthy, right? I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't abuse food, I eat fairly healthily, pretty healthily. I look after myself. I've never smoked or consumed alcohol, taken drugs, any of those things. I don't believe I have addictions to, maybe I'm on my phone too much sometimes. But I think my big thing is shopping, right? I use shopping as a way to feel good about myself, because I just love buying things. I love getting bargains, and I've got so much stuff, right? And I know this stemmed from my childhood, because my mum actually was brought up in very challenging circumstances, and she had nothing. I mean, she didn't have a toy to her name. She didn't have a new item of clothing. Everything was hand-me-down, too small, somebody else's clothing. She didn't have anything that was hers. And so when she became a parent at a very young age of 17, she wanted to give, and to my sister and I, and then to our children, to her grandchildren. And when I was younger, I didn't see this. I just sort of thought, oh, wow, what a generous and amazing mum I've got, who wants to, give us so much stuff and, spend so much money on us all the time. And we ended up with so much stuff, right? We had so many clothes, we couldn't wear them all. We had so many toys, we couldn't play with them all. When my boys were born, particularly my first son, my mum bought so much stuff, I just had nowhere to put it. It became crazy. And I took that on to some extent, probably not as extreme as my mum, but I took that on to some extent. I love buying, I love giving presents and gifts, but probably to not a healthy way, not in a healthy way. And I really had to consciously pull myself back especially recently. I did a big clean out in my wardrobe recently, and I literally had about 10 huge big bags, those big striped bags, full of clothes that are no more than 2 or 3 or 4, 5 years old at the most, probably more 1 to 3 years old, that I just don't wear, or they don't fit me, or I just can't use. And I've still got a wardrobe full of so many clothes. There's no way if I wore something different every day that I could even wear them. And I work from home, and I usually get around in daggy old stuff. So, that's my addiction. So I'm having to really consciously be aware that I don't need any more stuff. And if I do buy something, it's because I really want it and love it, not just because of that habitual thing of going shopping and looking for bargains and buying more and more and more. So that's my little confession for today. So with what I teach in the Nurtured Heart approach, the whole idea and the reason that, how it aligns with this topic is that, so many times kids who are parented by parents, most parents with the very best of intentions, the very, love in their heart, to provide for their children, to be, great parents, to be loving and unconditionally loving, and give our kids the best that we can. But, you've heard me talk about this so much prior that, many of us upside down parent, and we're not focusing necessarily on the things that we really want to grow in our relationship. So what I love so much about the Nurtured Heart approach is we really love to build what we call inner wealth in our children, so that when our children grow up to be adolescents, young adults, adults with their own families, they don't need to find that exterior stimuli to feel good about who they are as a person, to feel worthwhile, to feel loved, to feel connected, to feel valued. They don't need that, because they're already filled. Their cup is already filled with their own greatness. So inner wealth in Nurtured Heart is really, for me, the way I interpret it, it's a combination of so many things like self-esteem, self-worth, self-love, self-respect, unconditional love for yourself, acceptance, knowing that you are a good, kind, compassionate person, and that, no matter what happens in life, and stuff happens in life, but we can cope with it because we know we have the capabilities of doing it, and we know that, that we are capable, that we are loving enough, that we are caring enough, that we don't need to go into that space of not feeling good enough, of not feeling worthy, and then turning to the outside external stimuli, like all the things that I spoke about, the alcohol, the drugs, the video games, the shopping, the clothes, the food. We don't need to go there, because we feel good about who we are, and we can self-regulate. And if stuff happens, we know how to reset ourselves. We know how to come back to a place of, okay, this is happening, but what is it I really want in life? Am I going to focus on that and go down that road of negativity? Or am I going to reset myself, bring myself back to this place of positivity and focusing on what I want? So I really believe that the Nurtured Heart approach truly is something that every single person needs to learn, but particularly if you are a parent. So whether your child is 2 months old, 2 years old, 12 years old, 22 years old, or 42 years old, it doesn't matter. We're still relationshiping with them, even if they're not living in our home. So it's important to know how to relationship with them in a positive way that helps to build them up as a person, not in an egotistical way, but just to let them know that they're good enough, that, that we see their greatness, that we see their kindness, that we see that they're respectful, cooperative, helpful, thoughtful human beings, that are good enough, that we don't put conditions on their love, that you are loved if you do this or say this or be this, or you're not loved if you don't do this, say this, or be this. There's no conditions on our love when we use the Nurtured Heart approach, because it really is coming from a place of just looking for the greatness in every single moment. And some of us parents, like myself, we've been presented, for whatever reason, universally. I believe it's because there are lessons for us to learn. We've been presented with children who are a bit more intense, who have this beautiful life force of intensity, who are a little bit more challenging, who may have been dealt a condition or a physical or an emotional or psychological or behavioural or educational condition that renders them in other people's eyes, I guess, not being the same as, or not being a regular person, which isn't the case, of course, because each and every one of us has so much greatness within us. But our job as a parent is to build that inner wealth, and also what we call in the Nurtured Heart approach, the portfolio of that child, so that in that portfolio, as they're growing up, we put in all of their greatness. So instead of them taking their portfolio when they leave home or go off to, to work or to have an adult relationship, instead of in their portfolio, we don't want them to have self-doubt, loathe, hatred of themselves. I'm not good enough. I'm not loved. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not, thin enough. I'm not good enough for whatever reason. I'm not smart enough. We want it to be filled with their greatness, that, of what we've shown them and built over the years of using this beautiful positive language that we use in the Nurtured Heart approach. We want them to leave with their portfolio filled with, you have the greatness of a whole bunch of stuff. You have the greatness of being kind, of being thoughtful, of having integrity, of being an incredible person. So when you go out into the world and adversity happens or challenges happen, you're going to go back to that portfolio and back into your inner wealth of knowing who you are as a person. And I believe if we bring up our kids this way, that we will reduce addictions, we will reduce the trauma that our kids need or have to deal with as children and as they're growing up. Feeling disconnected or feeling, unloved. And look, most parents, love their children and want the best for them, but sometimes we just don't know what we don't know in regards to our relationshiping with our kids, and we give focus and energy to the wrong things. And it's not to blame you if your child has an addiction or has a challenge in their adult life, but I just feel if we focus on parenting and relationshiping in a right side way up rather than an upside down way, then our kids have got a much better chance as adults to not be dealing with things like trauma and addiction, because they're going to feel well-rounded. They're going to feel like they can cope with stuff. So hence they're not going to resort to or need something to numb their pain or their feelings of not being good enough. I hope this is making sense. I didn't really know where I was going to go with this, but I just had faith that I would, say the right things at the right time. So I hope something is aligning with you. If it's not, that's okay. It's just my thoughts. And as I said, I'm definitely not an expert in this field, but it is something that I'm hugely passionate about. So speaking of that, tomorrow night, Thursday, the 16th, I'm actually starting my next Nurture Your Heart to Greatness course, where I teach the Nurtured Heart approach, amongst many other things. This course is going to be quite extraordinary because it's a 24-week, yes, a 6-month course. It's going to start tomorrow and it will continue on weekly every Thursday evening from now until about mid-November. So what a perfect way to end 2022, learning and understanding this beautiful way to connect in relationship with not only your children, but with your partner, your other family members, and also very importantly with yourself, So I'm opening up a few spots for people to come and join us tomorrow night complimentary. So I've already got, paid participants who have paid for the 24-week course. So I hope you guys don't mind. But I'm just allowing some people to come and jump on our introductory session just so they can get a feel for what it is we do. Naturopath Nathan will be joining us. I'll be, introducing the Nurtured Heart approach, telling some stories, getting to know you a little bit more as well as you getting to know me. So if you would like to join that session tomorrow evening, 7:30 p.m. AES time, so Queensland time, or we're now in alignment with Victoria and New South Wales, etc. Just message me, email me, text me, Facebook message me, however you normally communicate with me or would like to communicate with me. There are lots of different ways. I'm at lillian@parentsupportnetwork.com.au is my email. You can see my phone number up there. You can text me. You can probably most easily connect with me on Facebook, but either or any of those ways is fine. And I'd love for you to come and join us just to get a feel for how beautiful a Nurtured Heart approach is and how amazingly it will change. Even if your relationships are already great, it will take them to the next level. So I look forward to having some of you join me there. If you would like a conversation or to have a chat about your family, or if anything has resonated with you that I've chatted about today, please pop some comments below. I love to hear comments. Sometimes I get people message me personally when they've heard some of my talks or my Parent Support Network TV shows, or sometimes I put comments on the call. So either way is fine. I look forward to connecting with you, and I'm so excited about starting our course tomorrow. If you missed the start of this course, I mean, it is going to take a couple of weeks to get into. The first couple of sessions are more introductory and they will be recorded. The first kind of solid learning session will be week 3. So you still have got a week or two to think about it, or to jump on a call with me to ask questions. I am also, by the way, working now with NDIS supported families. So anybody who has NDIS support for their families or particular children, I'm working in with those families as well, so they can actually join our course using their NDIS funding, which is amazing. So if that's you, also reach out for that conversation, and we'll see if we can make something happen. So thank you so much once again for tuning in. I appreciate you, and I love sharing this information with you. So I hope it resonated on some level, and if it didn't, that's totally okay. We don't have to agree, but I'd love to hear your thoughts, So thanks heaps. Lillian Reiki, parenting strategist from Parent Support Network, equipping parents to enjoy happy and healthy children and relationships on purpose. Bye for now.